To really get a grasp on the Christological controversies, one thing we have to be aware of is that all of these controversies take place within a basically Neoplatonic worldview and have a more or less Neoplatonic human anthropology. This is going to become important because really the question is, how is Jesus both God and human, right? And so anthropology is the study of what's human, theology is the study of what's God, and Jesus seems to be the nexus where the two intermingle. So on like a classical Neoplatonic anthropology, human beings are described basically this way, okay? That's bad. All right, here's your human being. There's three parts to this human being. This is a tripartite anthropology. Okay, first, there's the stuff of the human, right? A human being is made out of stuff, a body. It's the physical aspect of a human being. The body by itself is just, well, I mean, a corpse is certainly not a person, right? A corpse is just stuff that's not animated. So on classical anthropologies, there's that which animates, and this is kind of Aristotelian, but it gets drawn into the grander tradition. There's something that animates all living things, and this gets variously called, it gets called different things, but generally it's called the animal soul. Animal soul. Now, it might be helpful here to not think about soul as like, ghost, okay? Because sometimes people have that understanding, but really, soul doesn't really mean ghost. It just means, at least in this case, that which gets the body moving for various things. And the things that the animal soul is responsible for are the things that we share with animals, okay? So, every tiger has an animal soul, and so does every human. The animal soul is responsible for things like bodily appetites. So, the tiger gets hungry and we get hungry. The animal soul is responsible for regulating, our health and things like that. So it's like you take a person, and everything that a person shares with the beasts, that would be considered part of the person's animal soul. Okay? The last part of a person is the rational soul. And the rational soul is what most Christians have meant when they talk about a human soul. The rational soul encompasses all of the things about you that are maybe higher than the animals. Now, I want you to understand, you got to take this with a grain of salt. I know that there's been lots of, this is an ancient way of seeing things. It's probably not tenable today, but this is the way that people were thinking when they were trying to figure out who Jesus was back in the 5th century and before. So we need to understand it. So the rational soul is, the highest part of the rational soul is, you may have guessed, the reason, the intelligence, discernment, the ability to, form argumentation, speak, all of the things that maybe that ancient people might have said, these are the things that make humans better or higher on the great chain of being than animals, okay? So, be aware as we go through that this is more or less what all of the people who are thinking through Jesus are assuming make up a human being. And note that even if you believe in a soul, it's probably somewhat different than this, right? You might think so. I would say typically Christians, when they're soul theorists today, think something like this, like the soul is just me without my body, right? And that's why I say ghost, because it's sort of like a ghost, right? If you took my soul out, right, I'd still be me, but my body would be lifeless. Okay, notice that right there is on the ancient way of thinking about things. That's two things that have happened. There's two souls. that you just talked about, right? You need both of those to disappear to make your soul ghost. If you want to think about it in kind of more contemporary, modern terms, like when Descartes, for example, develops the notion of the soul, the ego, Descartes kind of combines these two. I mean, he's not even thinking about them anymore because it's been so far in the past, but that's what's animating the conversation. And so when we talk about Christological heresies, we're going to see that all of these categories play in. Now that might strike you as, well, then this means this is pointless. Why bother? We don't think that human beings are constructed this way anymore. I hear you, and I want you to trust me that by thinking the way along the lines that the ancients thought, we're going to get the sort of the material, the conceptual material that we need to make sure that when we do modern Christology, that we remain faithful to the orthodoxy. That we remain faithful to what's important about ancient and classical Christian Christology.